There's a conversation nobody wants to have about dating single mothers. And it's not the cartoon version people argue about online. It's not single moms are bad versus men are insecure. That's lazy. It's not about morality, shame, or whether someone deserves love. Most of the time, it's not even about judgment. It's about structure. It's about incentives. It's about what a relationship looks like in real life when a child is already at the center of the home and a man is considering stepping into that orbit. If you're a man making dating decisions, you can pretend this is all about romance and good intentions. But your nervous system doesn't run on slogans. It runs on risk. It runs on investment and return. It runs on whether your effort leads to stability, respect, and a shared future, or whether your effort disappears into an arrangement where you carry weight you didn't create with limited say in how things go. So let's speak plainly. When a man considers dating a single mother, he is not only considering a woman, he is considering a system, a child's needs, a co parent, a schedule, legal realities, financial realities, emotional realities, and a timeline that doesn't belong to him. That's not an insult. That's the job description. And within minutes of meeting her, sometimes without even realizing it, most men run a fast internal scan. How much time will this require? How much flexibility will I lose? What role will I actually have? Will I be respected or merely useful? What happens if I bond with the kids and the relationship ends? Will I be building my family or maintaining someone else's structure? Is there room for my goals, my peace, my future children, my legacy? That's not cruelty. That's competence. That's a man evaluating whether the shape of the relationship fits the life he's trying to build. And here's the part that makes this topic emotionally explosive. You can acknowledge a woman is admirable, strong, loving, and attractive, and still decide the arrangement doesn't work for you. Both can be true. People confuse "I'm not choosing this" with "I'm condemning you." They are not the same. A man doesn't need a villain story to opt out of a high complexity relationship. Now let's get into why the complexity is real and why so many men with options are cautious. The priority problem is structural, not personal. From the first day, a man dating a mother is stepping into a world where he will not be the first priority. Her child should be the first priority. Any decent man understands that. The problem is not the principle. The problem is the lived reality of it. Most men are wired, not by culture alone, but by basic bonding psychology, to want to feel chosen, to feel central, to feel like their partner is building around them the same way they're building around her. When that doesn't happen, the man might behave politely, might even understand logically, but the emotional debt still accumulates because the day to day looks like this. You plan a date, a child gets sick, the date is canceled, you want a weekend away, the custody schedule doesn't allow it. You want spontaneous time. There is no spontaneous time. You want to be seen. She is tired, pulled thin, managing life at survival speed. A man can respect motherhood and still recognize the relational downside. He's being asked to offer adult level commitment to a situation that often can't offer adult level partnership in return, at least not consistently. And over time, the issue isn't one canceled plan. It's the pattern. It's the repeated reminder that the relationship must operate on conditions he doesn't control. Some men can live with that. Many can't. Not because they hate kids, because they want a relationship where mutual prioritization is possible. The X isn't an X when children exist. People talk about baggage like it's emotional. With co parenting, it's not just emotional, it's logistical and permanent. When there's a child involved, the other parent is not a memory. He is a recurring presence, sometimes cooperative, sometimes chaotic, sometimes absent, and then suddenly involved, sometimes financially unreliable, sometimes emotionally manipulative, sometimes just normal, but still there. No matter what, there will be contact, there will be decisions, there will be coordination, there will be a shared history you can't compete with and shouldn't try to. There will be moments where the child's needs force communication, even when nobody wants it. A man entering that environment is not starting from a blank slate. He is joining an ongoing enterprise. And here's where men often get blindsided. The triangle isn't always romantic, but it is still a triangle. The mother and father share a bond most partners can't fully relate to because they created a life together. Even if the relationship was a disaster, the tie exists through the child. That doesn't mean she's unfaithful. It doesn't mean she's doing anything wrong. It means the relationship you're entering has a third axis, and you'd be foolish to ignore it. Many men can tolerate a third axis when it's clean, respectful, predictable, and boundaried. But when it's messy, late night calls, emergencies caused by the co parent's poor decisions, constant schedule changes, emotional spillover, arguments about money, new partners, jealousy, and power games, it becomes a chronic stressor. And chronic stress kills attraction and kills patience. Slowly, the man stops feeling like a partner and starts feeling like a stabilizer in someone else's chaos. He might never say it out loud, but he feels it. The hidden trade, responsibility without authority. This is the part men talk about quietly, because it's hard to describe without sounding cold. In a traditional family structure, responsibility and authority are linked. If you provide, protect, discipline, and guide, you also have a recognized role. You have standing, you have rights, legal, social, emotional. In step family dynamics, a man can be asked for responsibility while being denied authority. He's expected to show up, expected to contribute, expected to be patient, expected to tolerate disruption, expected to be emotionally steady, sometimes expected to help financially, sometimes expected to act like a father. But if he tries to discipline, he may be told, "You're not his dad." If he tries to set rules, he may be overruled. If he tries to correct behavior, the child may resent him. If the biological father objects, the mother may retreat to avoid conflict. So the man is in a narrow role. Be useful, be kind, be consistent, but don't overstep. That is a difficult position for many men, especially men who value leadership, structure, and respect in the home. They don't want to be a guest in a household they're financing emotionally or materially. They don't want to be a support beam with no blueprint rights. And the harshest version of this reality is the exit risk. If the relationship ends, he can lose the children instantly. No legal standing, no guaranteed contact. Years of investment can evaporate. That isn't paranoia. It is how the law and social boundaries typically function. So men think about it, even if they don't admit it. They think, if I bond with these kids, I'm putting my heart in a place that may not be protected. Time, energy, and the economics of attention. A relationship isn't only feelings, it's bandwidth. Single parenthood consumes bandwidth. It has to. School schedules, after school activities, custody transitions, homework, illness, childcare costs, work demands, the mental load of running a household. That means the relationship often receives what's left over. Late nights when she's tired, small windows that require planning, fewer chances to build novelty and shared adventure. Less sexual spontaneity, more practical conversation, less play. For a man who wants a partner to build with, that can feel like he's stepping into maintenance mode before he ever gets to experience building mode. And men notice something else. The relationship often asks him to be at his best while accepting her at her most depleted. Again, not because she's flawed, because parenting is demanding, but the asymmetry is real. A man's question becomes, am I signing up to be a source of relief or a co creator of a life? If it's relief, he's not a partner. He's a pressure release valve. Quality men avoid being anyone's pressure release valve. The future building question, whose life is being built? Men who are serious aren't looking for endless dating. They're looking for a future that makes sense. That future usually includes some combination of shared goals, shared home rhythm, shared values, shared finances, eventually, shared identity as a team, and for many men, biological children. When a woman already has children, the future building conversation starts with constraints. I can't move because of custody. I can't travel freely. My budget has to prioritize the kids. My schedule is fixed. My emotional capacity is limited. I'm not sure I want more children. I might want more children, but not soon. I want commitment, but my life is already full. None of those are wrong, but they change the offering. For a man who wants fatherhood, legacy, and a family he builds from the ground up, the question becomes serious. Is there room for my story here? Or am I stepping into an existing story with a supporting role? Men don't fear responsibility. They fear being trapped in responsibility that doesn't move them toward their own purpose. A man can be generous and still be strategic. The biological reality men rarely say out loud. This is where people get uncomfortable, but pretending it doesn't exist doesn't make it go away. Many men have a deep drive to invest in their own bloodline. That doesn't mean they can't love children who aren't theirs. Men adopt. Men mentor. Men step up in incredible ways. But from a primal standpoint, investing years of protection, provision, and guidance into children that can be taken away while postponing or sacrificing the chance for biological fatherhood creates internal conflict for some men. Especially when the man is in his 30s or 40s and feels time pressure. He thinks, if I commit here, am I closing the window on having my own children? Am I spending my strongest years building another man's family structure while mine remains hypothetical? Not every man wants kids, but many do. And for them, this question is not theoretical. It's central. A serious man doesn't only evaluate the woman in front of him, he evaluates the life path her situation creates, the selection pressure of the dating market. Now we get to the part people call cold, but it's simply how choices work. If a man has options, he compares, not because he's evil, because comparison is how human beings choose. He compares complexity versus simplicity. He compares peace versus turbulence. He compares mutual availability versus constrained availability. He compares a clean slate versus an ongoing co-parenting dynamic. And if he's choosing a high complexity situation, he expects the value to be high enough to justify it. What is value in a long-term relationship? Not money, not superficial status. Real value looks like emotional stability, accountability, loyalty, kindness without entitlement respect, clear boundaries with the past, consistent affection, practical cooperation, shared vision, and a home environment that feels like a sanctuary, not a stress factory. If a single mother offers those in a rare, grounded way, many men will absolutely consider it. But if she brings chaos, unresolved conflict, with the co-parent, bitterness, constant crisis, or an attitude that the man should be grateful to be included, the deal collapses immediately. Because then the man sees the real exchange: high demand, high sacrifice, low control, low security. And that is not attractive to a man who has worked to build himself. Why resentment builds, even for good men. Let me give you a composite picture, because this happens often. A man meets a woman. She's smart, attractive, tough in a way he respects. He admires the fact she's holding it together. He tells himself he's mature enough for this. He believes character matters more than convenience. In the beginning, it feels noble, like he's doing something meaningful. But over months, the reality sets in. Their time is always scheduled. Intimacy is disrupted by fatigue and stress. His needs are postponed because the kid's needs are non negotiable. The co parent creates friction, directly or indirectly. The man finds himself adapting constantly while receiving little adaptation in return. He feels like the relationship happens around him, not with him. He starts noticing that his friends in simpler situations are building faster: shared routines, trips, shared homes, future planning, ease. He starts noticing that he doesn't feel like the man in his own life. He feels like an accessory. And then a moment comes, not always dramatic, sometimes small. Another canceled plan, another boundary crossed by the co parent. Another time, his important event is second to custody logistics. Another time, he spends money that he knows, deep down, he will never get credit for. Another time, he feels like his sacrifices are expected, not appreciated. That's when the question hits him: am I building a life, or am I managing someone else's life? He doesn't leave because he hates her. He leaves because he finally sees the structure clearly. And the tragedy is that both people can feel wronged, because both people are responding to real pressures. She thinks, why won't he step up? He thinks, why am I stepping into a role where I'm never fully chosen? This is not about villains. It's about misalignment. The rules for men who even consider it. Now let's bring this to something useful. Because if you're going to talk about this topic to men, the highest value isn't complaining, it's clarity. If you're a man considering dating a single mother, there are non negotiables that protect you and increase the chance of a healthy outcome. 1. Look for clean boundaries with the co parent. Not perfect, not drama free forever, but disciplined, respectful, predictable. If her relationship with the child's father is chaotic, your relationship will pay the tax. 2. Pay attention to accountability. Does she take responsibility for her choices and life direction? Or does everything happen to her and everyone else is always the problem? Accountability predicts stability. 3. Don't audition to be useful. If the relationship feels like you're being evaluated for what you can provide rather than who you are, step back. Love is not a job interview for resources. 4. Be honest about your desire for children. If you want biological kids, say it early. Don't drift for years hoping things change. Drift is how men wake up angry. 5. Move slowly around the children. Bonding too fast creates emotional risk. If you're serious, you'll be there later. If you're not, you shouldn't imprint on the kids. 6. Define your role clearly. Are you a partner, or are you being recruited as a replacement parent? Those are different roles. The second one requires explicit agreement, respect, authority structure, and a shared long-term plan. 7. Watch for entitlement disguised as empowerment. Confidence is attractive. Entitlement is poison. If she treats your sacrifice as the least you can do, that's a preview of your future. 8. Protect your peace. A man's greatest asset isn't his wallet. It's his clarity and stability. If the relationship costs you your peace, it will cost you your life. That's not cruelty. That's wisdom. the truth that can be said without disrespect. Here's the honest conclusion, said like a grown man instead of a provocateur. Many men avoid dating single mothers because the structure often demands more than it returns, especially early on, and because the risks are real: limited priority, co parent permanence, restricted freedom, responsibility without authority, and emotional exposure without guaranteed security. Some men are built for it. Some men don't mind it. Some men even prefer a more settled home environment. But many men, particularly men who have worked hard to build options, will choose a simpler path with fewer constraints and a clearer future, especially if they want fatherhood and a family built from the beginning. That choice doesn't require hatred, it requires self respect and honest assessment. And if there's one message men need to hear, it's this: you don't owe anyone a relationship that doesn't fit your life. You can respect a woman and still decline the role her situation implies. You can admire her strength and still recognize that admiration isn't compatibility. You can care and still choose not to commit. Real maturity isn't pretending every situation is equally easy. Real maturity is admitting what you can carry, what you cannot carry, and what you're willing to build. For single mothers who want serious relationships, the solution isn't shaming men into compliance. The solution is bringing undeniable value to the structure: stability, peace, clear boundaries, realistic expectations, and genuine reciprocity, so the man doesn't feel recruited, he feels chosen. And for men, the solution isn't mocking anyone or speaking with bitterness. The solution is to look at the whole system, tell the truth about what you want, and refuse arrangements that slowly turn you into a supporting character in your own life. That's not fear. That's discernment. That's not selfishness. That's leadership. And that's the real conversation nobody wants to have, because it requires honesty from both sides, not slogans from either side.